wanted to get one more video out before the day's end. Welcome back, guys. It's my fourth video of the day, and yeah, this video I just want to do for a little bit of fun. We did this near the halfway point of the year, where we saw where the Blackhawks record should have been probably at about halfway through the season, and now we're going to look at it here at the end because there were some games that they could have had a better record. Their real record this year was 28, 42, and 12, good enough for 68 points. If they had never lost an overtime or a shootout, their record could have been 40 and 42 for good enough for 80 points. Is this anywhere close to the playoff picture? No. But 40 and 42, that's 40 wins, 42 losses. That's not at all very. If some things go right from that could be scenario, then the Hawks could have been in the playoffs. Of course, this is just for fun. We're just looking back at we're going to look back at all 82 games this season. I know it's going to be hard to see, but I've got the entire list of games in order. So I wrote them in black marker, and it was dying out, so I kind of just used the rest of it. So you can't really see it, but we'll go through all the games. I'll be able to talk over them. So here we go. Game 1 against the Colorado Avalanche. They were in Colorado to start the season. They lose it 4-2. They were down 3-0 in the first 10 minutes of the game. Yeah, I'm going to give them no chance here. We're going to start the season off with a loss to Colorado. Next up, we have New Jersey. New Jersey, we lose 4-3 in OT. However, we came back from 3-1 down in the final minute. And since it's an OT one, we'll mark it as a win. So, 1-1. Pittsburgh. The Hawks lose 5-2. Fleury got pulled 12 minutes in, and because Pittsburgh had already scored 4. And yeah, I think we're going to count that as a Pittsburgh win and a loss for the Hawks. Once again, we have another game for another Eastern team. We have the Islanders. So it's 3 road games to start the season. First home game, and we see the Islanders win 4-1. The Hawks don't score until with 26 seconds left in the game. I think it's fair to say that we have another loss. Not much difference so far. Game 5, Hawks lose 4-1 to Vancouver. Same exact score. Closest the game was 1-1, and then Vancouver kind of took over in the second, and then the third. They actually took it over with 3 minutes to go. Hawks actually controlled majority of the game. However, just because there's no X factor that could have really changed anything, and it was it's a loss. So already 1-4, not off to a great start. And I know, I'm pretty sure back in the original, I looked at teams that were like good and bad and games that they probably should have won and they didn't. But now we're just going to be looking back at games that they had a lead, they had a clear, they were destined to win and they just didn't. Hawks lose 6-3 to Detroit. Wow, I wrote down a lot in this game. I did not notice I wrote down this much. They lose 6-3. They get outshot. However, they destroy them on the hit column. The Detroit goal. Sorry about the silence. I'm just looking over this. There was a lot of notes this game. Hawks didn't really have it until the third, so I'm going to mark that down. Another loss. However, Game 7 against Toronto, mark that down as a win because it was decided in OT that Hawks lose 3-2 in overtime, and this was the game that Bowman was. This was the first time that Bowman was no longer the GM. It was also this day that Kyle Beach was the individual figure out in the scandal that happened at the start of the season. However, Hawks had a 2-0 lead in the game, and yeah, so I say this one goes to the Hawks. Game 8 against Carolina. Chicago opens the scoring, Carolina responds in Chicago, Carolina. Okay, yep, we're going to stop it right there and say that Carolina has the clear win in this game. St. Louis wins 1-0. Yeah, they controlled this game in the shot column pretty solidly. one off a power play goal. Don't know why I took the green marker out. This is clearly going to be another loss. So we got in through the first 9 now, and they've gotten 2 wins, which is more than what they had. Ottawa, they do win in real life, so and it's decisively a 5-1 win, so we'll move on from there. Now, game 11, they lose 4-3, and let's see what happens here. Hawks lead off the scoring. Carolina responds. Chicago, Carolina. I'm going to mark this as a win. They should not be giving up 3-1 leads. Game 12. We have in Winnipeg. Winnipeg wins 5-1. Yeah, I think that's enough said that it's a clear... did I forget it? Wow, I completely forgot a game right here. I can't believe I did that. Let me just quickly fix that. I can't believe I did that. CAR. Just wondering why I only was missing something there. But yeah, we're gonna call that Carolina game a win, and this Winnipeg game is a loss. So there we go. Nashville. The Hawks win 2-1 in overtime. You know what that means? That's a win. This is their 4-game win streak. This is where Derek King takes over, and they go on their longest win streak of the season. Then they win 3-2 in a shootout. Then they beat Arizona 2-1, and then they beat Seattle. I believe it was 4-2. Yes, I was right. That's 4 straight wins. They won 6 out of the last 7 at this point, and then they go into Edmonton and they get stomped on 5-2. So we're gonna mark that now as a loss. And now we got Vancouver again, in which the Hawks win 1-0 in a game they had no business winning. I'm debating whether or not to mark this as a win for Vancouver because the Hawks scored off. It was a deflection goal by Brandon Hagel, and they had no business winning this game. I'll mark it a win just because we're calling it the best case scenario, but that would be definitely in the could category. I'm going to say that at least one of the games was robbed. I'm going to say the Hawks probably should have went 41-41. So I'd say they probably would have went about 500 in the could. So we'll mark this as a win. Calgary, they lose 5-2. Calgary opens the scoring. Chicago responds, but then Calgary scores. Chicago responds, and then Calgary. They did keep it close for a while, but in the end, it's a loss. Wow, there we go. Next, St. Louis. Hawks win 3-2 in overtime. That's a win. San Jose, Hawks lose, I think it was 2-0. Yep, 2-0. And they outshoot San Jose pretty well, but there's no lead in there. They don't even score. Reimer was just destined for this one. We have a loss. Washington. I know the Hawks swept Washington this year, so that's a win. Then we go to game 23 versus the Rangers, and they lose 3-2. They have a 2-0 lead at any point. 2-goal leads are the mark. Kane scores. Rangers tie it. Rangers take the lead. Hawks score with 1:19 left, but in the end can't get it done. That is a loss again. Game 24 against the Islanders in New York. That is a win because they win in the shootout 3-2. The Islanders scored with 2 seconds left to tie that game. And the marker's already dying. Jeez. Rangers come into Chicago. This is the game Kara gets hurt in game 25. Lost 6-2 in Chicago. Wow, they scored They scored 4 goals in the third. It was tied, and then they just blew it right open. Game 26, Montreal. Fleury gets his 500th win. It would have happened a lot earlier in this case scenario. Toronto. Yes. Wait, why did I do that? Why did I put LW? Toronto, I'm marking this as a win. Chicago came back from 4-1 down, and then a goal off the boards is what happened, and it was stupid. I'm marking that as a win. Hawks sweep Toronto in my eyes. Then they go to Washington. Or no, they come home to play Washington, and they win again because that's what they do. And then against Nashville, guess what? They lose I think they lose in overtime. They lose in overtime, but in this world, they win again, and they have a 4-game win streak. And then Dallas, that's overtime game, they win again. And then Game 31 against Nashville, they get absolutely stomped on. And I'm pretty sure this is the game that Soderblom went in. If January 1st, yes it is. It's a loss after a 5-game win streak. And then we have Calgary again. They lose 5-1 at home. That's another loss. Colorado lose 4-3 in overtime, because I remember this is one of my most viewed videos. Like, the title was like Game 33, Cale Makar is a beast. However, he wouldn't be a beast in this one. It would be Game 33 would be a win. Arizona, I'm pretty sure then they lost 6-4. Yep, we don't talk about that game. I remember in that last one that they probably should have won. So we'll mark that down as a loss. A lot of teams have lost. 25 teams have at least lost to Arizona this year, unless they've lost multiple times. Vegas, the Hawks go in and win. Makes it so that's 2-1. Game 36, Columbus comes in, and I'm pretty sure the Hawks win that one as well. They beat Columbus 4-2 in Columbus. And then they go to Montreal, or no, they come home and play Montreal, and they win. And then they go to Anaheim, and they beat Anaheim 3-0. So another 4-game win streak. And they go to Seattle. In real life, they lose in the shootout in Game 39. Well, and shootouts are wins here, so have another win streak. Yeah, you can see after that a lot of this for start they didn't really have a chance. We go to Game 40 in Minnesota, where they get killed 5-1, and then they lose 4-3 in overtime in a back-to-back. They lose at home, but they would have a win otherwise. So, moving on, we're at the halfway point now. Game 42 against the Colorado Avalanche, they lose 2-0. Colorado gets the shutout. Detroit, this was a big game. Happy birthday Wayne Gretzky in Game 43. Dylan Strome nets his first hat trick of the season, in what would be a pretty remarkable season for Strome. Moving on to Game 44. Against Colorado, they lose 6-4. Another loss. Game 45 versus Vancouver, they lose 3-1 at home, I believe this is. Yes, it is. Luke Schenn gets the empty netter. Another loss. First back-to-back losses since the Nashville Calgary down here. Game 46, they get killed by Minnesota 5-0. Edmonton, they beat Edmonton 4-1 in the midst of a skid, so good win there. Game 48, they play St. Louis in St. Louis. Get stomped on 5-1, having a skid right now. Then they go to Winnipeg, and they beat them 3-1 as Brandon Hagel gets the empty netter. And you realize I'm saying Hagel's name so many times is because he actually did stuff. Game 50 against Columbus, they lose 7-4. And then Game 51 against Dallas, they lose in the shootout. So that's a win in our books. It's kind of fun looking back. To give a little explanation, it's just a little fun, I think, looking back and seeing what this team could have been if things had gone their way this season. If they just won a few, if they didn't blow leads, if they didn't destroy dreams. They didn't get the lead enough much, but when they did, they didn't capitalize enough on it. And then Game 52 against the Florida Panthers, you don't need to tell me twice. I already know that's a bad loss. Yep, 5-2. Oh, and then the game I went to this year, Game 53 against New Jersey. 8-5 win. Kane and Hagel both have hat tricks, of which I both have recordings of on my phone. Moving on to Game 54 against St. Louis, they lose 4-0. And then Edmonton, they lose 4-3. They win 4-3. They do win 4-3 in overtime. It's because Keith returns to Chicago. And yeah. On Game 56, they suffer a humiliating 4-3 loss to Philadelphia. And the last words I wrote down on that one were pathetic. And another loss. Tampa Bay, they lose 6-3. I'm pretty sure... How did this happen? Because I remember this one. They didn't like Hedman and Perry. So you have Perry, Hedman, and Sergachev scored like 34 seconds apart from each other. But that's another loss. Feels like I'm saying a lot of losses, but in reality, I know they've won a lot as well. Anaheim, they'll win 8-3. That would be a hat trick for someone, I think. Did no one get a hat trick this game? That's right, they went up 5-0 in the first period, but that's a win. Game 59 against Boston. Don't tell me this is This is the one. I'm marking this down as a win because this was more BS on the part. Game 59, where Pastrnak scored with 18 seconds left off a horrible icing call. That screwed the game. Game 60, Hawks march into Ottawa and they win. Not at the cost, though. They lost Tyler Johnson and they lost Connor Murphy that game. Boston, they lose 2-1 in overtime. Well, guess what? They win here. They beat Boston twice this year, according to me. Then again, I'm not the most reliable source because I'm doing this. Game 62, Minnesota, that wins 3-1. They took the lead late. I remember they were being completely outplayed, and makes sense. Winnipeg, they lose 6-4. That's another loss. Game 64, Anaheim Ducks. I'm on vacation at this point. This was my vacation win. They win 4-2, and they beat LA in the back-to-back. So double wins there. And we move on to Game 66, where they play Vegas, blow a 3-0 lead. That shouldn't happen. That's a win. Then they play Buffalo at home. They blow a 4-0 lead. That should not happen. That's another four-game win streak. That would have been their first, second. They had 5 here, but third, fourth. That would have been their fifth 4-game win streak of the season at that point. Then they get destroyed by Florida, loss. Tampa, 5-2, loss. Hagel would get the empty netter in that one for Tampa. And then Arizona beats them 3-2 in OT. And yeah, that was because Kane got a BS high sticking penalty. That's a win. Then Seattle just shuts them out in their own building, so we'll mark that as a loss. Then Dallas beats them 6-4, a loss. Kings beat them 5-2, loss. Having a skid at the end of the season. San Jose, Pat Foley's last game, they win in the shootout. That stays the same. That hit my computer there, whoopsie. Nashville, 4-3, it's another loss. Having a late season skid, destroying their record. We'll count this up at the end. And Calgary, they lose 5-2 pretty handedly. Arizona, they beat in overtime in real time and in here. So there we go. LA Kings, they lose 4-1 in LA, I think. Yep, they lose 4-1 in LA. They lose 4-1 in San Jose. They're completely falling apart at this point. And then they face Philly, Vegas, and Buffalo. They win 2 out of those 3 games and lose the last one in a shootout. So that's a win. Can't even see this is off screen. Win and win. So now we tally up the wins. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be back once I have a final result for you. Welcome back. As I calculated it up, the Hawks would have finished 44-38 with 88 points, which would that have made the playoffs? I do not think so. They beat Vegas all three times in the season if this happens. That would have brought Vegas down because Vegas only got 3 points off them, so that's 3 points less than Vegas would have, so they'd be down to 91 at least. And that means that they'd be down to 91. Vancouver, nothing would have changed with Vancouver. Vancouver still beat them twice. In terms of the other teams, Dallas, they beat once here. They beat any other Dallas wins that they beat Dallas twice, so that's another 2 points lost from Dallas. It's too hard to calculate here. This is just a fantasy world. In a fantasy perfection, it's even the best case scenario is not even that good. 38 losses still, so it's really not that much. But if you made it to the end here, thank you guys for watching. There's still a couple more videos I want to do on the season. We might do later in the week because I got to get to playoff previews tomorrow, and then power rankings, and then predictions. And it's going to be a crazy day tomorrow. 10 videos are supposed to go up tomorrow. 10. And that's going to be hell in itself. And then I want to get a video on both the teams that did make the playoffs and teams that didn't, and what on pressure and failure. Then I also want to do 2 NHL 22 videos, and then I want to do a video looking at the Hawks' record against every single team in the league this year, all 31 other teams, to see which teams they really succeeded against and which teams they really struggled against. But we'll get to those later, but made it 20 minutes now, so one of my longer videos for sure. But I want to thank you guys for watching if you made it to the end of this, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.